Well, while the left continues to grapple with the Supreme Court decision from Friday regarding the overturning of Roe versus Wade, while they overreact, while they melt down, while they outright lie, some of them aren't lying. Some of them, I'm sorry, they're just incredibly stupid. When they're out there screaming and yelling, you can't tell me what I can do with my body and I won't be dictated to by old white men. But you were dictated to by Anthony Fauci, old white Anthony Fauci, when he told you you're going to take love potion number 9, when he got President Obama Biden to enact it as a mandate to keep certain jobs in this country, and mayors and certain governors fell in line. Who's protesting for all of the women across this country who worked as nurses, school teachers in New York City, worked in local government and municipalities, and refused to give up their bodily autonomy, my body, my choice, by saying, I won't take love potion number 9. And they lost their jobs. They lost their livelihood. They were ostracized and they were outcast because they exercised the freedom of choice. They exercised their rights as a woman. Who protests for them? Yeah. So when they're out there now screaming, this is my body, these are my rights, and the Supreme Court can't take them away. What they don't understand, because some of them are just stupid, some of them are just ill-informed, some of them are lying, but what they really don't grapple with the fact is they've actually been given broader freedom. The actual Roe versus Wade decision wasn't law. It was bad case, and the Democrats have had 50 years to codify it into law. They didn't. If these people who are out on the streets screaming and yelling and protesting want to direct their anger anywhere, let them direct it at the Democratic Party. Let them ask their president. Let them ask Barack Obama. Let them ask the Clintons. Why didn't you codify this when you held the Oval Office and held the majority? Why didn't you settle this? Because in reality, they don't want to settle it. They love the issue. They love the division. It's how they lie. It's how they fundraise, and how it's what they're telling you right now is in these midterm elections, you got to vote for us so we can make this happen, so we can restore your right. They could have kept it in place, and they didn't. So you decide if you're going to be suckered again. But if AOC is freaking out over the Roe versus Wade decision, which, again, I think is beyond her intelligence to actually understand, while they're all hand-wringing about this, while they're all screaming about this, and while they're trying to divert our attention with re-engaging the January 6th hearings, because after all, someone standing in a hall heard the president down the hall saying, I don't care if those people have weapons. They're not here to hurt me. Let them in. The hearings, which are nothing but hearsay, hogwash, there's no evidence. It's all he said, she said, stuff that would never be permitted into an actual court of law is now being, brought up in this sham hearing. And so that's re-engaged. You know why they re-engaged that? Because they had suspended these hearings. And they were going to be suspended indefinitely. You know why they're back to the hearings? Because they didn't get the overreaction in the streets regarding Roe v. Wade that they were hoping for. And everything is always about distraction, 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 distraction. We don't want you talking about the economy. We don't want you talking about the problems that really affect you each and every day. We want you to embrace high gas prices, food shortages, supply chain issues, and literally having a substandard life as long as we promise you can kill children. I mean, that is literally the demonic insanity that they're trying to thwart onto the American people. But the American people, by and large, have moved on. I think most American people understand that abortion will be legal in some states. In some states, it will be harder to do. And in some states, it will be outright illegal. And there will be court challenges to all of that. So this is going to go on for a while. And right now, I need to worry about me and my family and putting groceries on the table and being able to afford gas. And right now, I'm not hearing the Democrats talk about that. So because We, the people, were not buying the latest hyperbole and hysteria, and a bunch of women didn't put their little pink wedge caps on and take to the streets and say, I'm not denying my rights to kill. So we go back to another diversion, because that's all the Democrats can do is divert, 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 divert. Almost sounds like the Swedish Chef on the Muppet Show. Divert, 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 divert. I'll get a note later. So these January 6 hearings, nothing but a bunch of hearsay and accusation and innuendo and gossip that's being presented as, aha! And of course, this has Howard Stern all worked up, and now he's effing serious. He's going to run for president. That would be funny to watch. He's going to pack the court. He has two agendas. He's going to put 5 more people on the Supreme Court, pack the court, and he's going to do away with the Electoral College. Neither thing that he would actually, as president, have the authority to do. But, he's Howard Stern, and nobody takes him seriously anymore. And for you libloons that talk about Trump being a sexist and a sex pig, we have 40 years of Howard Stern on the radio getting outright vulgar, suggestive, filthy, and dirty in conversations with women and strippers, and having them insert objects into their vaginas while on the radio, and getting the squishy, soggy sound effects. And you're going to talk about Donald Trump being a sexist pig? Yeah, okay. We'll see how that flies with Democrats about, running Howard Stern. There is a case that the Supreme Court has not yet given their decision on. And if it does, in reality, it's bigger than Roe versus Wade. Let me say that again. It's bigger than Roe versus Wade. Now, it's not bigger to the non-thinking masses that react to everything rather than think it through. They aren't grasping the fact that actually more rights have been given back, because what the Supreme Court did was not outlaw abortion. What they said was, hey, every state has the right to set its own abortion laws. It's federalism. But what is being decided right now is a case that involves West Virginia. President Barack Obama introduced what was called the Clean Power Plan. And this was supposed to cost about $33 billion a year, and it was virtually going to put the coal industry out of business because it was a whole big thing on clean energy. It's an AOC wet dream come to fruition. But what's happening is West Virginia and some other entities joined together in a lawsuit and said, this is a complete revamping of the entire electrical grid in this country, and it not only endangers fossil fuel, but it obviously endangers the coal industry, and it's a complete forced reworking of everything we're doing now, because one agency, the EPA, without a vote being taken, can just mandate that, and that's it. So what happens if the Supreme Court steps in and sides with West Virginia? Don't miss this. This is key. Then the EPA and all these other unelected alphabet agencies that are out there, CDC, etc., 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 can no longer just simply with the stroke of a pen and their own whim as unelected bureaucrats have mandates that you and I have to follow and obey. That means Congress would actually have to go to work. It would mean that anything that the EPA wants to do, or OSHA wants to do, or the CDC wants to do, they would have to come before Congress, make recommendations. It would then have to be debated, pros and cons, and Congress would have to vote on it. Bum, ba-dum-bum. All these Democrats always lecturing us ad nauseum that we got to save democracy, man. We got to save democracy. When they say that, they're not really talking about saving democracy. What they're talking about is, let us be the authoritarians that get to decree how things are going to be, and you just obey, man. If the Supreme Court sides with West Virginia, the EPA, the CDC, OSHA, etc. None of them can just arbitrarily, with the stroke of a pen, enact mandates. Everything that they want to do would have to pass Congress. And that's a good thing. Number one, it would keep Congress from doing some of the other idiot things that they do that inflict all types of financial pain on us. They wouldn't have so much time to just sit around at their cocktail parties that they all go to, members of both parties, when they only pretend to fight with each other when the CNN cameras are there, and figure out new ways to spend your money. I will give $54 billion to this lost cause over in Ukraine, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now they would actually have to debate all of this Green New Deal bullhawk. The American people would be able to follow it, watch it, see it happen, hear the pros and cons. There would have to be give and take and compromise, and it might take years for one or two of these nut ideas to actually happen. And slow everything down, exactly the way the framers of our Constitution designed it. When you hear people talk about there's gridlock, there's gridlock, there's gridlock, gridlock's a good thing. The framers of our country wanted gridlock. They didn't want things passed like this and on a whim. There is a reason, I have explained this before, but I'm going to explain it again. There is a reason that our founding fathers used things like religion and the Bible as the bedrock for our Constitution and our laws. It's not because they were all devout Christians. I'm not saying that. But they did understand something about the Bible. They understood that the Bible doesn't change. God laid out his commands and they don't change. They stand. And that was what the framers of our government, the framers of our Constitution, our founding fathers, in their brilliance understood. That we can't keep changing everything to fit the times on a whim and a flip, because man changes his opinion all the time. Some days, men say, I can do whatever I want. I can take whatever drugs I want. I can eat whatever food I want. And then when they get sick, all of a sudden, they've had a come to Jesus moment, and now they don't do drugs, and they don't want to eat crap, and they want to take care of themselves. And then when they start feeling better, they flip right back and do it all over again. And our founding fathers didn't want our laws and our rights to be constantly flipping around. So they designed a system of governance where things would take time. Lots of time. It's done on purpose, and it's a good thing. It protects you. It protects your rights. And when we have created all these government agencies, which were not elected by you or I, and we give them this unbridled authority that with the stroke of a pen, they can just enact, quote, laws. How'd all that pandemic stuff work out for you again? When you were told you couldn't leave your house, when you were told you couldn't go to work, when you were told you would put this on, take that off, get this jab, show this proof, and it was all done by this agency and that agency that could just do it with the stroke of a pen. I live in a town that every time I drive by the hospital and I want to stop in and make visits, there's still a big sign out front under CDC order, masks required. Again, it isn't even that all of their decisions are bad decisions. It's just that these unelected people make them, and then the rest of us have to just comply. You listen to these Democrats screaming about these justices. We didn't vote for them. Well, the Senate approved them. And what you really don't like is this particular group of justices, they're not making law. They're going back to the Constitution and they're saying, this law, this thing that you like, it doesn't actually line up with the Constitution. We're not doing it. And if you want it to line up with the Constitution, then you, Congress, get off your lazy backsides, put your money where your mouth is, Let people know exactly where you stand. And if you really believe this with your core being, then put it into law and let people know where you stand. See, right now, this so-called clean power plan, we don't really know what it costs because it's not just the 33 billion that's projected to cost. And that's always a projection. And they could be off by 100 billion or two. It's all of the tax subsidies that all these green new energy companies will have. Well, that's more cost.
Oh no, it's just a break for the green companies.
No. It means you and I as taxpayers are going to subsidize their losses. That's what a tax break for them means. Subsidy. We're subsidizing them. We're paying their bills. But see, if all this has to go through Congress, the American people would begin to realize that all of a sudden this convergence to so-called green energy would actually be costlier than fossil fuel. And in the end, they would find out you're never really going to get rid of fossil fuel because fossil fuel will always be needed to go and dig and mine the materials for the green stuff. Starting to catch on how this works. But if you've got an alphabet agency like the EPA, which can just simply write a law saying on this date, all coal plants are closed. Wait, what? In the Supreme Court, if they side with West Virginia, this is a game changer. It is a huge game changer. It means the bureaucracies in Washington, D.C. no longer have power. The power goes back to we the people through our elected and should be held accountable representatives. God bless this Supreme Court.